Holy deluge of DC news, Batman. Matt Reeves' hotly anticipated sequel to 2022's The Batman has been lying dormant on the new info front for a while now, but recently sprang into life as the writer and director ratchets up production on the film ahead of its 2026 premiere. We've got release date news, story news, cancelled TV project news, and the status of Greg Fraser's involvement as cinematographer, which, needless to say, is a pretty big deal. So set those turbines to speed and start practicing your Batu-C. I'm Ewan, this is What Culture, and with me today to discuss the big old news that we have surrounding the Batman 2, and to slide down the big old fire pole into the Batcave, is the other half to this brilliant dynamic duo. It is, of course, Gareth Morgan. How are you doing, Gareth?
I'm better now. I'm in a good mood. We're talking about all things Batman. And yeah, there's a lot of info. I've been keeping a close eye on this. I know we've spoken about it a lot on the channel. We did a big breakdown a couple of months back now, talking about cancelled TV shows and things like that. So this has been quite promising. Mr. Matt Reeves has been talking to a lot of different outlets, talking to Entertainment Weekly, talking to Collider around the Penguins release. And we've seen that the Penguins done really well over since its premiere, a week ago at this point. It's done really well. The viewing figures are quite strong.
Yeah, 10 million viewers on the premiere, and then I think the second episode, which has just come out at the time of recording, has done over 1 million in one night. So that's very good. It's nice that people have penguin fever. They want to see more of Oz Cobb.
Oz Cobb, yeah, the latest side that you can find at Kentucky Fried Chicken. Oz Cobb, it's a good time. It's a good time. So yeah, that's been all great stuff. And just in general, I think the hype now is starting to really build towards the Batman, because it felt like you had this film come out in 2022. Obviously, a lot of hype around it. Really loved that film. Enjoyed it more actually watching it at home than what I did in the cinema, because I think I was watching it with a hangover in the cinema, and that is an intense experience when your brain's a little bit fried. But ever since then, obviously, people have known that it's coming. The sequel was obviously there on the cards, but then we've had delays, and it felt like we've lost a bit of momentum, you could say, before the Penguin came out. Now the Penguin's come out again, a lot of people are thinking, all right, well, I want this next piece of Batman, I want a bit of this. So Reeves has obviously kind of jumped on this now and gone, okay, here's some information. We know now that the script for that is completed, according to the conversation that he was having with Entertainment Weekly. So the script's finished. He said everyone's now preparing to start production next year. And I think the word right now is that they're going to start shooting in the first half of next year. And I believe the release is 2026. I think it's October 2026.
October 2nd. So literally the day after tomorrow, 2004, 2 years from now. I made that very, very convoluted.
Yeah,
my stupid disaster movie.
Squeeze it in.
But I got it in there. It's all completely seamless. So yeah, October 2nd, 2026. And Gareth, I agree with you. I'm super happy that we're finally getting some more open movement on the project, because obviously over the last few years there's been a lot of strife going on at DC. Some changes that have been good, some changes that have come from the mergers with Discovery and the David Zaslavification of of everything. I'm choking up because it's that emotional.
We're allergic to it.
And not just because it's phlegmy October weather now, but yeah, it's nice that we finally got movement on this, because I really, really, really enjoyed the Batman. I love the vision that Reeves has for this mythos. There's some things that he's mentioned in different articles recently that I kind of slightly disagree with, and I think it maybe narrowed the focus of what the universe could be. But overall, the Batman 2022 is still one of the most faithful and authentic depictions of that character and the symbolism behind him that we've ever gotten. So I'm super, super excited. Obviously, it wouldn't be superhero movie news without mentioning some really forced, branding cohesion titles. So obviously, we had the Marvel Cinematic Universe back in the late 2000s. Then it was the DC Extended or Expanded Universe for quite a while, and then we had the Sony universe of Marvel characters, or Sumka, and then that changed again, I think. I don't know. And now we have the Batman Epic Crime Saga, which, why don't I just call it the Epic Batman Crime Saga?
Yeah.
The Batman Epic Crime Saga is so weird to me, but it kind of comes from this cohesive vision that, excuse me, that Reeves has for this mythos. You know, obviously, before the Penguin was announced, we thought that the first wave of Batman spin-offs from this movie would be a GCPD show, which didn't pan out, and eventually kind of, you know, aspects of that treatment were, you know, reportedly worked into the Penguin, and then also the Arkham Asylum show, which didn't move forward either. But, you know, Reeves is saying in this interview with Entertainment Weekly, quote, "I always wanted to make sure that each of the movies that we did with Rob, that the central arc, the emotional arc of the story would be Batman and Bruce's. Then when I was talking to Warner Brothers about signing for TV, I said, what will be exciting to me is to take characters where there's not enough real estate in a movie to cover their story in full and to really dig into them. I want it to all be part of this sweeping Batman crime epic." So I think the interesting thing here is that I know from my perspective as someone who is a little bit fatigued by superheroes, it's very, 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 very easy to look at the contentification of everything and being like, well, you know, we don't have a new Batman movie coming in however long, so we'll get you on the Penguin TV show, then you'll be plugged into our HBO Max subscription, you'll have this and this and this. It does seem like Reeves has an organic desire to want to explore these characters, and obviously, you know, that's kind of being reflected in the fact that the Penguin is doing very well right now. So yeah, I'm hopeful that maybe we'll get a GCPD show in the future, because Gotham Central by Greg Rucka and Ed Brubaker with art by Michael Lark is one of my favorite Batman comics of all time. We got to see a little bit of that sprinkled into Batman Caped Crusader, the new animated series that Reeves co-developed with J.J. Abrams and Bruce Timm. So, you know, I'm looking forward to seeing how they flesh out this world overall.
And I think it's one of those things as well. It's important to note that within this Entertainment Weekly article that he also said in terms of those shows that didn't move forward, the ones that seemed like they were scrapped, like it was reported, they were like, oh, okay, this one's not going ahead. His quote on it was, "The things that we're talking about now are evolved versions of those things that we talked about that were scrapped. So it's not like they didn't work out, they just didn't work altogether. It was like, we need to evolve this. I would describe it less as something that didn't work out and more as something that is still along a path towards arriving at its destination." So it's like all those ideas that we thought, oh, they just scrapped that and gone somewhere else. It seems like they've maybe just pulled them into the Penguin and maybe pushed them into the Batman Part 2 as well. Like it feels like those ideas were thrown at the wall and they went, right, okay, that's something really compelling that we want to dive into at some point. And then maybe as time's gone by, maybe because of delays, maybe because of the just plans changing, which they do, and like it'll change during the writing process, they've gone, actually, that might work a little bit better if we put it into the movie. That might work a little bit better if we have it attached to this story focusing on the Penguin. And what I really love as well, what you're talking about there with having these characters that maybe weren't getting a lot of the spotlight in the movies and then being fleshed out, and it isn't just like a contentification like direction that they're going in with it. It seems like he's had a real plan. Like specifically for like the Penguin, like 'cause he mentions during this interview and the Collider interview as well that it was intentional. They wanted him to seem like a bit of a laughed off threat, really, in the first Batman. They were like, okay, he's
what
kind
are you
of
showing me.
Yeah, he's just like, he's got a few one-liners, like yeah, and they said that's intent. We want to show the full development of this character, so we intentionally put him at that point so we could flesh him out fully in his own show, and then when he does rear his head again in the Batman Part 2, you've got this full arc, this real, and you'll have somewhat of a connection to that character, and it'll be somewhat like we saw with the MCU for so many years, where they actually did spend a lot of time building out those characters, and it wasn't just new character, and then nothing. Do you know what I mean? It was like a roadmap for these characters, and I think that's encouraging. That makes me a little bit more invested in this particular story.
I guess it feels a little bit more organic than even having a roadmap in a way. You know, the fact that everything is so kind of free-flowing and the parts aren't necessarily, you know, we need to get a GCPD show out by this date, we need to have an Arkham Asylum show out by this date. I'm glad that Reeves is basically being given what seems to be carte blanche to really kind of just shepherd this series forward, which is great. The only thing that I have is like a little bit of kind of, and again, this is coming from someone who has always loved the fantastical side of Batman. He's been on record with SFX recently, the sci-fi magazine, talking about how probably not going to see any particularly fantastical characters going forward in the Batman, and if they are going to appear, they're going to be reimagined as being very grounded and, you know, quote-unquote realistic. So his full quote to SFX was, "What was important to me was to find a way to take these pop icons, these mythical characters that everybody knows, and translate it so that Gotham feels like a place in our world. We might push to the edge of the fantastical, but we would never go into full fantastical. It's meant to feel quite grounded. It doesn't mean that you won't see characters that people love. That's exactly what we want to do. Gentleman Ghost," because he was asked about Gentleman Ghost, who we love, "is probably pushed a bit too far for us to be able to find a way to do, but there is a fun way to think about how we would take characters that might push over into a bit of the fantastical and find a way to make sense of that." Now, obviously, Reeves has got his own vision here. Totally cool with that. I don't mind. I just think it's frustrating because I felt like, you know, Batman, at the end of the day, it's a guy in a superhero costume, right? He should be allowed to fight, you know, demons and Clayface gooped monsters and men who wear giant suits of ice and crack puns all the time. Or maybe even a guy who thinks he's a reincarnated Egyptian pharaoh. You know, it's just a fun part of the character. So I understand people will be happy about this. Personally, I think it's kind of limiting the scope of everything, and I'd be kind of a little bit annoyed if, you know, we've already had the Riddler as, like, Zodiac.
Yeah.
I would be very hopeful that going forward it wouldn't just be a case of, okay, well, we're going to do Mr. Freeze, but we're going to make him some kind of cryogenic serial killer. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I feel like I would like to see I think it's just a shame that the scope is limited in that way. That's like my only downside to the whole raft of new info we've gotten about, you know, the franchise going forward, because I love fantastical pulpy fiction. You know, that's one of the things I love about Batman. I'd love to see them, you know, I want to see Batman team up with Etrigan the Demon. I want to see Batman team up with Deadman. I want to see the spookiness in my Batman, you know? So, yeah, I don't know what you think about this guy. Do you think it's limited that Reeves is going so hard on the crime and corruption aspect rather than other aspects of the mythos, or is this just a let him cook situation?
I would say let him cook to a certain degree, because I quite like the direction it's gone so far. I know we've had like the gritty, grounded Batman before with the Nolanverse and all that stuff. I know we've had it, but I really did enjoy that. And this does feel different enough. It feels a lot more gothic and a lot more just atmospheric than what those films felt. So I quite like where he's going with it, and I would like to see how it plays out, whether we keep going down this murder mystery route that he's had with the first one. I quite like that, like as a thriller kind of vibe. But then at the same time, I've not really seen that super fantastical side of Batman in like the modern day. I know we've had like the Tim Burton side was a bit more heightened and all that kind of stuff, and then obviously the Schumacher films as well. But I don't know. I'd be intrigued to see what that look like nowadays, but I just don't think it'll fully mesh with what he's doing currently. Maybe there's scope for it in the future, you don't know. Maybe we can see something like that within the James Gunn DCU stuff, like when...
Oh, it will definitely be there. The place for it will be there, but
Yeah.
my disappointment is coming from the fact that Andy Muschietti is directing that movie, and he made The Flash, and...
You want some goopy CGI, man, you're gonna get it.
Yeah, and they're also including Damian Wayne in that, who I love. He's my favorite Robin, so I'm kind of like double, kind of like, they have all the recipes and they've given it to the guy who did The Flash, which, yeah. We won't dunk on The Flash.
Yeah,
There's one more thing that I want to mention here before I hand it over back to you, Gareth, in case there's anything that I've missed. And this is on the status of Greg Fraser's involvement in the sequel. Now, obviously, Greg Fraser was the cinematographer, the director of photography on The Batman. He is one of the principal reasons why that movie looks so good. Oh, just the shot of,
gorgeous.
I mean, combined with the theme and Batman walking out the Batmobile and penguins in the upturned car and the roads are on fire. It's absolutely brilliant. We've currently had we did expect Fraser to just be a guaranteed inclusion for the sequel, but Reeves did recently say that, quote, "I certainly hope that the timing will work out for that, but I actually don't know. We're not to the place where we know that Fraser will be involved in the project. I hope that's the case, because I just love working with him. And I believe that's down to Fraser's involvement in the Dune franchise. Correct me if I'm wrong. I hope they find a way for it to all shake out okay and for him to be involved. But I would also, caveat all of this being there are lots of talented directors of photography, cinematographers working in the movies. it wouldn't be the end of the world if he couldn't return. It would just be a shame.
Yeah, and it's the same really applies to, and I always get his name completely, I butcher it, but Michael Giacchino, is that?
Yeah.
Giacchino, the same applies there as well. I believe in that same interview he was saying, obviously, he really want to work with Fraser again, obviously, because of how stunning that first movie looks, but the same applies to Giacchino as well, because he said, the other thing that's really exciting, he's working with him, currently, they're doing something else, he said, he's writing his music as a filmmaker. We're doing a project together that he's going to be directing, so he's going to be doing more directing. But he did promise me, he said, look, I will always make sure that even when I'm directing, I will write music for your stuff. So I'm hoping that's the case. That timing will work out. So yeah, it's one of those where we just need to see how things line up. Obviously, it looks like they're tentatively pushing towards the first half of next year to shoot and do everything else. And then you got your post-production, all that stuff. So they just have to see if they can make it work. Keep our fingers crossed, because if you can get the gang back together for this, like the OG gang from that first Batman, you probably almost guaranteed another feast for the eyes and the ears like we got. The minute you started talking about that shot where he just walks up to the car and the fight, I could just hear da da da. It just gets under your soul, not even your skin. It just gets under your soul. That incredible theme.
Completely rousing. Yeah, I think that covers all the big updates that we've had on the Batman 2 recently and the Batman epic crime saga moving forward. I want to know what everyone thinks of this down in the comments below. What Batman villains do you want to see Reeves tackle next on the small screen? Are you looking forward to the Batman 2? Like, I think most people are, but let us know maybe if you're not. And also, if you're looking forward to the kind of continuation of that grounded depiction, or did you want to be like a sick freak like me and want to see like the demons and the ghosts and the goblins, because I love those guys. I love seeing those dudes pop up in Batman stuff.
We need more goblins just in general, just in all form of film. Just goblins and demons.
I guess Spider-Man has me covered there. He's got the Green Goblin, he's got the Hobgoblin, he's got the new Goblin.
I'm sure Venom will have some demonic, goopy things for you very soon, so that'll be fun.
That is true. Venom will bring the goop, as always. We will bring the content. Thank you all for watching, everyone. I've been Ewan. If you want more of me, you can catch me on Twitter at Ewan Ruins Things. You can find Gareth over on Twitter at
gmorgan04, and then Instagram at Gareth Morgram. And you got all my fitness stuff there as well, if you like that kind of stuff. So
Morgram. You need to think about that. That's so good.
Get on the gram.
God damn it. Right.
That's what we do.
Goodbye, everyone.
See you later.